Hey everyone, it's Mega Champ once more, once again. This should really be to the surprise of no one. I mean, seriously, I literally did say that the next 3 games were all relatively short or much shorter compared to the prior game, which took me 200 hours to beat, which I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing of at this point, so we'll talk about this instead. To the surprise of nobody, well, I'm not surprised anyway. Nothing really happened, so far at least, at Gamescom that really care about or have cared about. I mean, at least Tales of Zillia is escaping PS3 prison, I guess. And just before I get started here, because I'm going to feel like an asshole if I don't say this, I would like to give a big congratulations to all of you Hollow Knight fans, all you Silk Song people. This is your day. This is your day. And it's ironic as hell that it's coming out September 4th, the day before my birthday. You're welcome. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yes, I am so happy for all of you people. Yeah, nothing else to say. Congratulations. Happy for all of you. Despite what it may seem and what other people may think of me, games need to come out. Games need to come out. I finished Stray. It only took me 8 hours, so I didn't even hit the double digits. It's not a very long game. It's not a very long game. Very short. But, the thing you need to know is that it's an indie game. And if you somehow don't know what that means or what that stands for, it stands for independent game. And what that means is that it's a genre of game that is, or genres of games that also have different genres that are basically not tied to a specific platform or a specific publisher. Sometimes they will get backing from a specific publisher, but an indie game is mostly a game that is most of the time, or at least a lot of the time, self-funded and self-pub. Well, maybe not always self-published. Sometimes it's self-published, but it's basically made by someone on their own or with a relatively small or smaller team that isn't tied to a specific platform and normally doesn't have any exclusivity to a specific platform. So that's what Stray is. I don't really play a lot of indie games, if you haven't noticed. Kind of obvious. And at the very least, or at least at minimum, this is probably my first indie game that I've played in a very long time because I don't really play a lot of indie games. And honestly, if once I get started on my full thoughts here on the game, you're going to tell very quickly how much I ended up enjoying this game because I did. So if you don't want to watch anymore because I just told you how much I enjoyed the game, I guess that's fine. But I do tend to be a lot more specific. But after playing this game and after finish it, I have to be completely and brutally honest with you, which I normally am, which a lot of people don't like for some reason. It makes me want to play more indie games. It does. It really does, especially with how good this one was and how much I liked and enjoyed this one. Or at least, or at the very least, indie games that are similar to this one. Or at least, just really fun and great experiences overall. Unfortunately, when it comes to indie games, it's hard to really know what to get, especially for me, because from what I have seen and what seems to be the case from all the indie games that I have seen trailers for, They all seem to be three genres: soulslikes, roguelites, and metroidvanias. Soulslikes and roguelites are clearly too hard for me because both of those games you have to die constantly in order to win. No, thank you. No, thank you. So, Souls-likes and roguelites are clearly too hard for me, and both of those are genres I don't really like. And still to this day, I have not found a Metroidvania that I like. I did play the two Ori games, Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps, both on Nintendo Switch 1. And although I would say I did enjoy the Ori franchise and it was very pretty, it still had its own sort of quote unquote too difficult moments or way too hard moments for me. So it's definitely possible I just haven't found a Metroidvania that would be good for me, and that does not include Hollow Knight. That is definitely too hard for me. I'm sorry. I know it's too hard for me. I realized that and dropped it the day before I was going to play it. And I played the Ori games, or one of the Ori games, instead as a replacement. So, there's not really much else for me to say about that. I mean, those three genres, Souls-likes, roguelites, and Metroidvanias, are seemingly, at least this is the perception and from what I have seen from most trailers for indie games, are the main indie game genres from what I have personally seen. Obviously, there are other games and genres, but none of those have really interested or intrigued me either. A lot of indie games just don't interest me, unfortunately. That's just kind of the sort of point of this sort of mini ramble before I get started with my full thoughts on Stray. But the also sort of point is, if anyone or someone wants to recommend indie games or a indie game or indie games, more than one, to me that they think I could like that aren't literally what I just mentioned, or a Metroidvania that you think I might like that might not be too difficult for me, then feel free to do so. Feel free to do so. But obviously, in case this hasn't also already been made abundantly clear and abundantly obvious, that doesn't necessarily mean I will play it, or even like it, or even have the money for it. Excuse me, sorry. So keep that in mind as well. But if you want to recommend indie games to me or for me, then feel free to do so, and I will do my own research. You don't have to tell me everything about it, unless you want to, of course. I can do my own research on games. It's not that hard. So, yeah, if you want to do that, feel free, or don't. Maybe I can still find some indie games I will like. I mean, I've been trying to be more open-minded to indie games and for indie games, but it's a lot easier said than done. It is a lot easier said than done. With that out of the way, it's time for another Full Thoughts video. This time for Stray, in case it wasn't already blatantly obvious. As usual, as per normal, as always is the case, this is just my own personal feelings, thoughts, opinions, and experiences on this game. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. You are going to have a different opinion. I am allowed to have my opinion. So, as usual, I will do my best to go over, as spoiler-free as possible, the story of the game, the characters, the world or the setting, the graphics, and the gameplay for a game where you play as a cute kitty. Stray. Just really quick, here are the platforms it is on. Basically all of them. And here is when it came out, basically 3 years. Yeah, I'm massively behind. That's also been made abundantly clear and abundantly obvious. So, as someone mows their lawn in the background, there's nothing I can do about that. Please try to just ignore it. Let's try to get started on the story of the game. So, I'll try to keep talking to try to drone it out as much as possible. Again, apologies. I don't have editing software. Not much to really say about the story of Stray. Sorry, hold on. Okay. It's basically a yeah, let's try pronouncing this right. Post-apocalyptic world. See, I can't talk properly. A post-apocalyptic world where humans no longer exist. Rip. Where a cute kitty, said cute kitty, gets separated from its kitty family and falls into a pit, quote unquote, so to speak. Don't worry, it ends up being fine. It does limp a little and it makes you emotional, but other than that, it ends up fine. Except in certain circumstances if certain things happen, but let's not talk about that. In other parts of the game. That leads to a walled-in, quote-unquote, city full of icky, disgusting, mean monsters called Zerks and robots. Yes, there are robots in the game. What did you expect? Sometimes robots are in post-apocalyptic games. Sometimes they are not, but they are in this one. They are in this one. Eventually, the cute kitty finds a cute drone robot head support character called B12 that kind of leads the cute kitty to it as it needs help, who has lost its memories. Like I said, that leads the cute kitty to it to help it and to help the cute kitty in this robot-filled world as well, as B12 pretty much translates what the other robots that you can meet in the game say, and help them out and do other things in the game to help said cute kitty as well. So, the point of the game basically is to open up this walled up city to the outside. There are some obvious side missions or side quests or whatever word you want to give it that technically includes getting all of B12's memories back. Not required, not mandatory, but there is a trophy for it. So just saying, or an achievement, or whatever word you want to call that. I played it on PlayStation 5, so it was a trophy, but there is more I could still technically say about the story, but it would be spoiler territory, so I will leave it at that. There are some side themes here about robots, how humans destroyed themselves through a plague. Are you noticing something yet? And AI. Yeah. That is still scarily, very scarily, still true to this day, even 3 years after it's been released. Remember, this game came out in 2022. It is 2025. Some of this stuff, if you play the game for yourself, which you should, that is mentioned about AI and robots and how some stuff about humans. Yeah, it's still unbelievably scary how true it is still to this day. And to this current year. The story was actually very intriguing, in my opinion. Really, you have to explore the areas, talk to the robots to get the quote-unquote lore of this game, which actually this was one of the very few games I was genuinely interested in and intrigued by. I mean, obviously, post-apocalyptic worlds, you want to know what the hell happened, right? So I know, you kind of go, ooh, cute kitty, must play. Yes, but the game also has lore, surprisingly, shockingly, which I was very interested in and intrigued by. You can do whatever you want, obviously. Everyone's going to do things differently and play games differently. But yeah, that's basically all there is to it for the story. I'm not going to say much else due to spoilers. But like I said, if you do choose to play this game, which I strongly recommend, very strongly, but do whatever you want. I would highly recommend that you don't rush, quote unquote, through the game. I mean, is the game short? Yes. I literally told you at the start that it only took me 8 hours. I didn't even hit 10 did. I didn't even hit the double digits for hours. Yes, it is short. It is very short. Less than 10 hours. Is it too short? Well, sure, I suppose you could make that argument. Maybe. But rushing through the game is probably the worst thing you could do if you do choose to play this game, in my opinion. There is technically an achievement or a trophy for beating the game in or under 2 hours. So if you are going for the platinum, then sure. Or going for all achievements, then sure. But playing it for the first time, I don't know why you would want to get that trophy immediately. But do not rush through the game. Don't. Just don't. I mean, the world exists there for a reason. Don't know why you would want to rush through it. But that was just for me personally. I wanted to know what was going on, what the world was, what it was like, what happened, etc., etc., etc. So, at the end of the day, do whatever you want, play it however you want, obviously. But I'm just saying, rushing through it is probably the worst thing you could do and may detract from your experience of the game. But that's just what I think. That's just how I feel. Do whatever you want, obviously. Obviously. There really isn't much to say about the characters in the game either. There's not many and not much character development in this game. There really isn't. But there is some character development there. It's not like it's completely non existent or it's not there at all. It is. But most of the character development in Stray is obviously on the robots and not the cat itself. It mostly centers around B12 and a group known as the Outsiders. Here's B12, by the way, if you really want to know. It's just a little drone robot head, basically, or a drone if you just want to say it's a drone. So there's B12. So most of the character development revolves around B12. There is some character development for a couple of robots in the game, but not all of them. Only the most important or the more important robots. Like I said, a group known as the Outsiders, quote unquote, which are a group of mostly for robots who want to, as the name may imply, go outside or open up the city, so to speak. So that's why they're called the Outsiders, because they want to go outside and touch grass. No, just kidding. I mean, technically, I guess that's true, but you will encounter all 4 members of the Outsiders as you progress through the game and the areas that you go to and explore. Those Outsiders are Momo, Doc, Zabaltazar, no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, and Clementine, 4 robots. There is another one called Samus, Seamus. I don't know how you would pronounce that. Maybe Seamus, but it's Seamus. Seamus? I don't know. Who is apparently a family member of Doc that you also talk to. So you end up helping, quote unquote, most of the Outsiders or another character who is familiar with one of them as the cute kitty, Seamus, or, Seamus, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, that robot. As far as the cat itself, which is just this, literally just the cat, it's literally just that, a cute kitty. Still great, though. Still cute and great, but it doesn't really get any character development. It really doesn't. I mean, all you really know about it is that it's a part of a small kitty family, and it gets separated from it, and then it starts helping the robot because it fell into the walled up city. If you ask me, again, just me, literally just me, I don't necessarily think the cat that you play as not getting any character development is a bad thing. It's a cat. What else do you want? But I guess technically that's subjective at the end of the day, I guess, if you think the cat that you play as not getting any character development is good or bad. Personally, I didn't really care, but you know, don't really know what else to say other than that. It's a cute kitty that also gets a cute backpack. I don't know what else to say. What I will admit, though, when it comes to character development, B12 obviously probably has the most and the best character development as they remember who they are and what they are through the memories as you go through the game and you find the memories. And that's all I can really say because if I say more, it would be spoilers. But really good, honestly, for something that's nothing but a drone. Or is it? Maybe a drone, or maybe not a drone. Play the game for yourself. But B12 probably has the most and probably the best character development for the game itself. The other robots, Momo, Doc, Zabaltazar, and Clementine, do have some, and Seamus, whatever, as well, but they're robots. Not much else to really say there, but yeah. Nothing else to really say about character development. It is kind of there, but maybe you could technically make the argument that it's the weakest thing in terms of, the categories I cover. The character development isn't really all that much there, but didn't really detract from how I felt on the game, but, everyone's going to think differently, I suppose. But the characters were good. I'm not saying they weren't. I'm just saying there wasn't really a lot of character development except for B12, but I'm not really sure it was all that needed. So, the world of the game, or the setting, or whatever word you wish to use, is basically, I kind of already covered it. It's an underground city full of robots. That's it. What else do you want to know? I mean, there are other areas like a slum area, rooftops, sewers, and other small robot-like towns like a place called Ant Village, which is kind of like a treetop area, sort of, and Midtown, another city area. The slums are kind of a city area as well, but if you can't tell from the name, the slums is kind of like a poor or poverty-like area, neighborhood for the robots. Midtown is kind of like a small commercial district area with shops, a nightclub. No, I'm not joking. And so on and so forth. Obviously, a majority of the areas have those mean, icky monsters, the Zerks. Although that's mostly kept to the slums. Once you make it to like Ant Village and Midtown, the enemies mostly change to security robots. So the robots go from being mostly good characters to some being bad, but just the security ones. What I will say about the world and setting of Stray is that most of the time anyway, quote unquote post apocalyptic stuff or post apocalyptic games don't really interest me all that much. I did like the setting for this one. I did. It's one of the few times I actually liked the post apocalyptic setting for a game. But I definitely did like the setting for this specific one. I will admit I'm not sure why specifically I liked the setting for this game specifically, but I just did. It was really unique, really interesting, and I was intrigued. Maybe I should play more of post-apocalyptic games, and maybe they will also intrigue me. I don't know. Most of those games tend to be games that, either are Souls-likes and are too hard for me, or just seem too hard for me, or have zombie-like enemies, which I don't like. Just saying. So, but I did like the setting for this specific game, at least. Um, as far as the only thing I could come up with as far as maybe why this setting intrigued me so much or that I liked it so much was kind of what I already mentioned earlier about how it's just so scary, especially currently in the year 2025, with how this literally could happen in real life at some point and how scary some of it really is with like AI and stuff and bullshit that's going on with the health system of certain governments that may or may not be dictatorship like. And I won't say anything else, so don't worry. So, yeah, it's maybe that could be why it intrigued me so much, but it did. It did. It's one of the few times that it or at least one of the mint times that it actually very much intrigued me in many ways. I do have some things to say about graphics, but obviously, now that we are to graphics and gameplay, we're getting to the areas that I'm definitely not the best expert at. I mean, I'm not an expert, period, and I never claimed to be and never will claim to be, but definitely not when it comes to graphics and gameplay. I have to be honest, the graphics in this game are still really goddamn impressive for something that is technically an indie game. They really are. They really are. Obviously, the game is only 3 years old and was one of the first games that was promoted as one of the first PlayStation 5 games, which didn't come out when the PlayStation 5 came out. It took an extra 2 years for it to come out after the PlayStation 5 released. And I know the game's only 3 years old, but still, the graphics are really damn impressive and really damn good for something that's an indie game. They are. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to pretend like that's not something to keep in mind. It is. It really is. Really damn impressive for an indie game. It doesn't look like an indie game. That's how good the graphics are. It looks like something, again, if you want to use this wording and this phrasing, it looks like something it looks like a triple A game, but it's not. It's single A. It's indie. That's how good the graphics are. That's great. That's great. Love that shit. Love that shit. I mean, at least in this specific situation and circumstance, admittedly, yeah, the impressive graphics made the game better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry they just did. Like I have stated several times in the past, each situation is going to be different. They are. And literally most indie games are not known for their graphics. Just saying. Just saying. Most indie games are very simplistic, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying most indie games are very simplistic with their graphics, and the really good graphics made this game better. I'm sorry, it just did. It just did. At least in this specific situation and circumstance. But I would say that technically, at least in my opinion and my experience, it did fit the game and what they were trying to do and show. So they clearly made the right choice and the right decision when it came to the graphics of the game. So just what I think, just how I feel. I've never said graphics are everything. I've literally said in prior games that, sometimes simple is best. It doesn't need to be ultra 4K, but In some situations, graphics really do matter, and in some situations, graphics can be amazing, but really can't save a game. Biomutant. We all remember this. Well, I do. Point is, each situation is different, but the graphics really did help in this game. I'm sorry, they just did. They just did, for me at least. But just me, obviously. Just me, obviously. So, gameplay, not much to say about it. Very fun. Actually, extremely fun. It's kind of like a platformer, but not in many ways, where you can jump around on different things in different areas. But it's mostly an adventure game with some slight, and I use that term very loosely here, slight, quote unquote, but no jump scares, thankfully. Horror elements like chase scenes, creepy areas, disgusting areas, amnesia, like, like the goop from the Amnesia A Dark Descent. I didn't play it myself, I watched YouTubers. But if you remember that, there's kind of that stuff. So there's some creepy and icky areas, dark areas, so it's kind of horror-ish, but not really because there's no jump scares. Most of that has to do with the Zerks, though. Once once you are done dealing with the Zerks, it's not really horror-like. It's more stealth-like, but yeah, very fun, very very fun. And since you play as you play as cat, um, you can scratch things, scratch carpets, scratch furniture, knock things over when you jump on shelves, or there's actually a button you can hit to knock things over, though those are mostly paint cans, but still, it's something you can do. Meow. What did you expect? It's a cat. And sleep in areas and even on robots. Aw, how cute. You can sleep on robots. As the cute kitty. Basically, you can do cat things. You play as a cat. What did you expect? I was never bored in this game. At all. Not once. Not once. Kept me invested and kept me intrigued the whole time. I did appreciate the change from the Zerks to the security robots, because those Zerks are not fun to deal with. They are not fun to deal with. So, Um, so I haven't really said anything negative or critical or had a criticism, if you have noticed. If you want me to say some critical things, then here you go. Um, I guess one thing you could say is that you can't customize the look of the cat. This is literally the cat. That's all you get. You can't make it look like, your own pet cat if you have one. I don't know. When it comes to me, that sort of thing, I don't think it really mattered all that much, but I get it. It would have been a little nice to, like make it black or gray or white and or whatever color your cat is. As they're all different breeds and different colors, obviously, but I guess you could make that argument. It just didn't really matter all that much to me specifically, but that's just me. But I guess I kind of get it and understand. I just didn't really care that I couldn't customize it, but just me. And that it was too short. Possibly too short. What I will admit to you is that I did kind of want the game to last a little bit longer. Maybe have some more lore as to what happened to all of the the humans, since it's post-apocalyptic and it's all robots and cats, maybe, and probably other animals as well, but it wasn't like nothing too but there's not really anything else too obvious to really point out. Some of the Zerk parts are a little annoying and unclear of how you're supposed to do it and what you're supposed to do, but other than that, there wasn't really anything else. I mean, the game being short doesn't and really shouldn't matter at this point. It really doesn't and shouldn't. I mean, did I used to think a game being short made it bad? I mean, yeah, I did. I literally did. And I'm sitting here literally telling you I used to think and feel this way. However, obviously, I wised up, quote unquote, so to speak, and I realized that as long as the game is good, that's all that really matters. That's it. Period. End of story. That's all that matters. That's all that should matter. The length of a game is really irrelevant and insignificant, if I can say that word properly. Irrelevant and insignificant as long as the game is good. As long as the game is good, who cares how long it is? Seriously. Whether it's 8 hours or 200 hours. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Although, obviously, technically, it is something that needs to be kept in mind. I guess, if you want to make that argument, which you can. I just don't really care about length anymore. I don't. And I really shouldn't have to begin with, but as the saying is, the older you get, the wiser you get, I guess. But length really shouldn't matter. It would have been nice for it to be a little bit longer. I was a little sad. I'm not crying, you're crying at the end, but yeah, it could have been a little bit longer, but who cares really? Extremely fun. It was just amazing overall. It really was. And I am going to take it a step further here and let you know that this is probably and possibly the best game I've played all year thus far. You heard me. You heard what I just said. I just said that. Okay? But obviously that's just my personal experience and opinion on the game, obviously. Here are your reviews that everyone is obsessed with. And of course the specific platform reviews. Another thing I want to mention here before I give my personal score is to also say that it took until this game, literally this game, unless I'm mistaken. Let's just assume I'm wrong here, okay? And you can correct me if I am wrong, and you should if I'm wrong. It took until literally this game, Stray, for games where you play as a cat, quote unquote, to become a thing, or to become its own genre, so to speak. So I don't really understand how did no one think of something like this before this game? Like seriously. It's very, very bizarre, very wild, really. But ever since this game, other games have popped up like this, in a similar manner to this game. Like Little Kitty, Big City, Gory, Cuddly Carnage. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that immediately come to mind. And, okay, here's the thing. Here's an idea for any of you game developers out there that might be listening to me talk and ramble in this video right now. Yeah, right, like that would ever happen. But, on the off, extremely rare chance, I might as well play the lottery. I have more of a chance of winning that than this, but here's an idea that I'm literally going to give to you for free because I do this shit for free and because I like doing it. Okay? This also still hasn't happened to this day, and I'm still waiting on it. It's August 21st, 2025 as of the recording of this video, and it still hasn't happened to this day. Still hasn't happened. You know how this is a game where you play as a cat? Here's an idea for you for free. You don't even have to give me credit, okay? You can take all the credit. I don't need any credit. How about something similar where you play as another pet? Except, The other pet where you play as a doggo. You play as a dog. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You can have that one for free, and I don't want any credit. You can take all the credit, okay? Congratulations on your massive success. Anyway, I would be all for a sequel. A Stray 2. Whether you play as a cat again, or you play as a dog, or a bird, or whatever other pets people have. I would be all for a sequel. I really would. Problem is, considering some shit that happened with Annapurna Interactive recently. I think it happened sometime last year. I don't remember when. But basically, the too long didn't read version of it is that a lot of people in Annapurna Interactive quit and left the company. So now Annapurna is kind of iffy on if they're still a good company or not. Maybe it's for the best that there isn't a sequel. And it's never made. Maybe it's for the best. It probably would be for the best. But I'm just saying I'd play a sequel. Just saying. Anyway, I brought the review scores back up. My score is much higher. My personal score would be a 9 out of 10. A solid 9.0 out of 10. Goddamn amazing. Goddamn amazing. I will try my best. I will try to mean this, but I will try my best to play more indie games, but roguelikes, soulslikes, metroidvanias, that's all they seem to be. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? So, yeah. Look, another indie game. I do play them, just not a lot. It's just 2 indie games back to back, and then God only knows what the next indie game I will play after this. There are a few. Like, I did buy Born of Bread and Bug Fables, which are 2 Paper Mario RPG-like games, but those still aren't for quite a while. Next up is One Shot World Machine Edition. Am I playing this because I watched Markiplier play it? Kinda. But they did put it on consoles, and it's a really unique and interesting game that not a lot of people thought of doing, where it interacts with your computer and your folders and stuff. A lot more games do that now, which is great and still very unique. But this is what started that, too. So that's what's next. Good old Nico. Good old Nico. So that's what I will be playing next. Not much else to say. Great game. It really was. Probably even the best game I've played all year thus far. Sorry, it just is. Imagine a game that's not even 10 hours beating a game that took me 200. Imagine. Nothing else to really say. Nothing else really going on, I guess. Technically, Gamescom is still ongoing, but that's all I got to say about that. Anyway, yeah, nothing else. Probably won't be very long before you see me again for full thoughts of this, and September will hopefully be more active for gaming news. So that's all I got for you. Nothing else to say. Not going to ramble too long again, but what else do you expect from me at this point? What else do you expect from me? This is Mega Champ saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. Bye. I will try to play more indie games, but no promises. No promises. No guarantees. Just be happy I'm intrigued by Mio Memories in Orbit. But feel free to give suggestions if that is your desire. Just make sure it's not a Souls-like or a roguelite. If it's a Metroidvania, make sure it's not a hard one like Hollow Knight. Just saying. Anyway, see ya. Bye. Yeah, Nico. Okay, bye.